Hello, this is part 2 of a 3-part series for regaining SSH access to an instance where you've lost the SSH keys. In this video, we will be going over the steps required for interrupting the boot process, adding a new SSH key, and then optionally resetting the password for the OPC user. As you can see above, this can be done for any of the Oracle 7, 8, or 9 flavors, as well as the CentOS images provided by OCI. The link for this documentation will be provided in the comments below, but we will be following this step by step, and at the end, you should have a new SSH key provided in this instance without any termination or other changes required. You should also be able to reset the OPC password. All right, let's look at the steps. First, we're going to reboot. Then while the instance is rebooting, we're going to interrupt the boot process. We're going to edit the Linux boot options, and we're going to add this line to the end of one of the options. This will give us a root prompt after the instance is rebooted. And then we're going to load SELinux, remount the /file system in a read-write mode. At this point, we should be able to change the SSH authorized keys file. We're going to move the current file to the old and then create a new authorized key file. At this point, we should now have the new key loaded and we should be able to regain access. And after that, then we should be able to reset the password for the OPC user. Some of these steps are repeated because these are set up in a way to run one without the other. As you can see, I bypassed edit system configuration files. This is a place if you want to edit, for instance, the FS tab or other configuration files on the instance. As part of this process, you can do that. We're not going to do that during this video. All right, so let's go through this now. When you're looking at the instance details, scroll down and on the left, select console connection. You can use either the Cloud Shell or the local connection, but for this demonstration, we'll use the Cloud Shell connection. So let's launch it. All right, let's go back and look at our steps. All right, so we're going to reboot. And while it's rebooting, we might have to press escape or F5. I'm running a Linux 7 instance. You will see the boot prompt come up as part of the reboot process. So let's reboot now. I'm going to force reboot. All right. And shortly you should see the boot options come up. Okay, I'm going to hit up arrow and then down. And then I'm going to hit E to edit the options. We're going to scroll down until we see the Linux EFI. And I'm going to scroll down one line and hit the back arrow key so that we're editing the end of this Linux EFI line. All right, these steps are described here. All right, I'm going to copy this line and paste it in here. And at this point, as you can see, it says reboot by pressing Control X. Now, these changes we're making to the boot options are in effect only during this boot. The next time we boot, these options will be gone. All right. And now we're at the bash prompt, as we talked about. You will see a bash shell command line. Okay, so we're ready to now reset the SSH key. So here is where we reload SELinux. Let's copy and paste that. Now we're going to remount the /file system in read-write mode. Now we're going to go to OPC's .ssh directory. And in there now is the old authorized key file. We're going to move it to a .old file. And now we're going to echo the contents of the new key file into a new authorized key file. So echo. All right. And we're going to want to change the mode of that file to match the old one. All right. Okay. At this point, we should be able to reboot. Notice if you just type reboot, it won't be able to find the path. That's why this is explicitly given the full path here. So let's try that. Command not found. So we're going to type in the full command and the system is rebooting. All right. In essence, we're done. But now we're going to go on. We're going to go through the same steps again. Okay, so I've gone through the initial steps, edited into maintenance mode, added the init equals /bin/bash, which we did in the first step. And I'm now at the bash prompt. I'm only going through it this way because that's consistent with the documentation that I've provided a link for below. Because of the last step that we did where we created a new authorized key, you should be able to SSH in using your newly provided key at this point, but I want to continue along with this documentation where we reset the key. All right, so we're going to load the SE Linux policy, and we're going to remount / and read write mode. And now we're going to change the password for OPC. So you don't actually need this sudo because we already have a / prompt, but let's go ahead and copy the directions as they're written and provide a new password. All right, and the password is updated. Now all we have to do is reboot. And we're done. And your password is reset. The importance of changing the password means that when you get in the future, and let's say you've lost SSH access, you can now provide a password as an alternative. The password is not set by default in creation of a new instance. So this is for any future problems you might have where you need to get in at this Cloud Shell or console connection prompt. And you'd rather provide a password than essentially interrupting the boot process like we just did earlier in this video. All right, and we're done.